If you heard the name Fated One of Unparalleled with this badass dragon, what skill would you expect it to have? Maybe a guard break? An unblockable swing? Not the third reset, baby! 99% of gamblers quit before they hit it big! Varga Dragres, one of the fated ones from the DivineZ anime, piloted by Inabe Nao, and voiced by Oyu, or Nishio Yuka, who's also done a bunch of roles in other Bushiroad IP. Varga takes the Overlord archetype trope with a twist. By counterblasting one, you retire both front rows, and at the end of battle, you resend Varga with -2 drive. Opposed to usual Overlords of D series that require you to discard 1 for -1 drive, Varga plays off whatever triggers you check plus 10k off the skill, and can be further pumped up with a booster to make guarding the second swing more uncomfortable. In other words, if you flip a critical trigger, it creates one of the scariest game states. But if you check anything else, this deck drops from tier 1 to tier abysmal dogshit in dealing pressure. Other than being a scary point for Varga, why is flipping that critical trigger actually important in the ride-up turns and turn 3? Simply, the Divine skill, which at the end of battle, it checks if your opponent's grade 3 or greater, has 4 more damage, and if you've attacked 2 or more times this turn. You counterblast 1 again and stand 1 more time with +2 drive, negating the -2 from the first skill. Basically, 2 more checks and another swing. Given that if you flip a crit on the first swing, it could be what ends up winning you a game. Funnily, more of the pressure of the skill actually comes from just existing than actually being procced, and the thought of being sacked, with another time to allocate triggers to your rears, or even your opponent giving you 2 extra cards to guard with, is alone to encourage denying and pacing out Varga's CB. In some cases, given that they respect the matchup, an opponent can be forced to restrict themselves with CB and make less optimal plays to slow down the game state that Varga creates. Oh, but little did Timmy know that it's all a mental game, and instead Timmy chooses to not guard the first Varga swing. For Varga's ride line, the original being Blaze Ember and Boulder Axe, one when rode upon providing you a body that turns into a 10k booster and giving you soul, the other gaining +5k and retiring itself to draw 1 at end of battle. In earlier lists, given that you go first, if you create a column called by this ride line, it makes an uncomfortable 25k swing against usually a 10k body, which either forces a front trigger or 2 cards consisting on 15k and 5k respectively. Oh, and Boulder Axe is also there to take full advantage of Varga retiring both front rows, so that's a pretty good card. Alternatively, the more common one used over Blaze Ember is the Virgila G1, since discarding is gross. As for the rest of the dedicated support, including and excluding the Mindhacker of this deck, Impale Horn, a 13k booster, or a 15k booster for Varga that can Soul Blast 1, retire itself and convert into a draw, Glaive, a 23k beater that cannot be retired by Varga's effects or can turn into a 13k booster, and arguably the most important one out of the first wave, Shura, a grade 2 whose main function is to bounce your rears that retire themselves to your hand instead of retiring them, alongside getting +5k. Say that you want to target a Boulder Axe of Shura skill, you then swing with Boulder Axe, and instead of the mandatory retire, it goes back to your hand to net you an additional card, plus a reusable beater for the following turn. Following that, when she's brutally murdered by Varga's front row sweep, you can counterblast 1, call her from drop to act as another swing plus 10k. Huh? Counterblast? Does that mean there's like countercharge for this step? LMAO you wish. And it is one of the balancing aspects of Varga. Eventually you're just gonna run out of CB and heal triggers are your only quote-unquote countercharge. Well, putting aside Caliburn, but in some situations, you can be forced into deciding whether it's a Divine skill or call Shura with only having 2 open counterblast. Also, the balancing can be sort of found in your opponent needing to pace how much damage they give to you, I guess. With all of this in mind, the usual list around set 1 played around with boosters that retired themselves, and that can be bounced with Shura or just to remove themselves from board because this thing is still roaming around. But generally, G1s are usually king for pushing for early damage and scaring people into, if I keep taking damage, I'll eventually hit 4 and get Divine skill to death, or something along those lines, I guess. Despite at surface level being just an AK booster that removes itself and draws, it can be used at many points in the game, whether just to commit early or generally drawn to shield or other pieces after making a respectable column. At one point there was a build completely focused on straight up hard aggroing, dubbed Mono Red Varga, which played a bunch of G1s that gained +5k out of nowhere to hit over defensives, and always ask for cards else you get pushed to 4 early, until like they flip a heal or OT or whatever. Set 2 introduced 2 new things. This crow thing, I guess, and importantly, Rakshasa. Rakshasa operates as both a G1 that retires and draws, meaning it can be used in the same application of the G1s pushing early and can be abused by Shura's skill to return to hand, but also that he denies intercepts, and by Shura, you can keep spamming your anti-intercept as much as possible. Especially one of the biggest counterplays to maximize shield and guarding versus Varga is to just intercept. Yeah, let's just remove that mechanic completely. Good luck getting value, man. Midway around Festival Collection, we got Caliburn, which is basically countercharge and soul and draw 2, depending on what you need, and Lechuga. because giving Varga another 10k is pretty funny if you like ignore how detrimental the CB is. Set 4, we got Twin Pulsive, which finally gives this deck shuffle. It finally gives this deck shuffle, and a way to dig for pieces, or even net you an extra card. The plus 5k is also pretty nice, making the VG swing more scary. Remember what I said about damage being relevant to how you approach Varga? Well, you can throw most of that out of the fucking window. It's Varga Dragres Rasetsu, baby! In set 5, we got the upgrade form being Rasetsu, or Evil Ass Badass Dragon. Yes, I know it's called Rakshasa. Whatever. Similar to Vache, riding into Rasetsu puts you in the Malworm state until the end of the fight, and is also more persona rides that Varga actually desperately really needed. Being on Rasetsu also means your front row wipe and power gain is free, with your restand being locked behind the CB. Oh, this also kills back row. Now the Divine skill... Wait, what? Where's the damage condition? That's right, guys, if you thought you could deny it now with deliberately being on free damage, you are probably in trouble! Other support is Storm Slasher. Despite not drawing, it's a really decent early commit, and also really just takes over Impale Horn's job of being a huge booster, since it revives itself for free and just restands with just one soul. And... this thing. It's pretty funny. I reckon you should try it out. Other than that, nothing's really changed in Rasetsu. It's really just the same Varga. Just flip a critical, kill them or something. Here are a few lists on set 5 focusing on Rasetsu, alongside for set 4 for English right now. And here's my funny list. The main goal is just to get as much of this guy on the board and become really, really big. So, is there a reason for why Varga tops so much? Other than, you know, having so much representation with all the Now fans? No, not really. It's really just Schrödinger's, like, best deck in format. Yeah, there really isn't that much to talk about Varga. Fallheart, I guess, because he revives grade 1. You have Roar. This order that Gryandra uses, I think this is absolutely dog shit. Yeah, there really isn't that much for Varga. That'll be all for Varga. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and do leave a comment. If you haven't already, also please do subscribe. Yeah, how long was the last sort of main quote-unquote video that wasn't like gameplay? Oh, that was a month ago?
Wait, I've seen that guy before. No.